healthcare business podcast from the Coker Group that focuses on solutions to help healthcare organizations effectively navigate the changing healthcare industry landscape.
And welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Coker. My name's Mark Rybolt. I'm the host of the podcast. And once again, we are back with another in our series of what we call vendor spotlights. And if you haven't heard one of these before, these are just quick little interviews, usually phone interviews, where one of our team members here at Coker sits down with a representative from various companies out there that provide different services and solutions, oftentimes very technology oriented, but not always, but different services and solutions for the healthcare industry. And we work separately, very much independently from these organizations, but we often find ourselves working alongside them. And in today's Vendor Spotlight episode, we have one of our team members. His name is Chris Torregosa. Chris has been on our IT services team for a number of years here at Coker. And Chris is sitting down with Patrick Randolph, who is from QueueDr. And you can find them. QueueDr is it's QueueDr.com, and it's spelled QueueDr.com. And we encourage everyone to check them out. And if you are interested in some of the solutions they provide after hearing this discussion between Chris and Patrick, definitely feel free to reach out to them. Or reach out to us, and we'll make sure that contact information is available. But Chris and Patrick just talked about different things that QueueDr does, or their solution is kind of focused on filling in gaps around patient access, patient communications, and coordination. They also talked a little bit about just the process of implementation. So if you're a practice or you're a health system or anything that is considering this or a solution like this, obviously you want to know about what that implementation process looks like. What are the benefits? What gaps are we filling? How does it integrate with our EHR and all of our other solutions that may already be in place? So again, Chris and Patrick got into that a little bit, and hopefully at least provided a little teaser on what the company and the solution provides. As always, we like to say, this again, I mentioned this before, but this isn't an endorsement. This isn't, there's no connection between Coker and QueueDr or any of these vendors that we feature in the Vendor Spotlight. This is just, again, a way for us to highlight some of the products, services, and solutions that are out there in the marketplace that, we can provide some perspective on. And we also have some familiarity in terms of working with them on behalf of our clients. And that's obviously the first and foremost priority for us, is creating value for our clients. And so if you like this, we definitely invite you to listen to the rest of the series, whether it's the Vendor Spotlight series or hopefully any of the Coffee with Coker series that we have out there, which you can find all of our podcast episodes at coffeewithcoker.com. You can also find us directly via the Coker website at cokergroup.com. And again, you can listen directly there, or you can find us on any of the standard podcast forums where you typically listen to podcasts. Other than that, we welcome your feedback, and we look forward to hearing from you all as far as any topics you'd like to hear from, any vendor spotlights you'd like us to feature in the future. And other than that, we thank you for listening and look forward to hearing from you all in future episodes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for that introduction. Today, I have Patrick Randolph from QueueDr. So I want to thank him for joining us today on this vendor spotlight. My name is Chris Torregosa. I'm the Vice President with our Healthcare Technology line. And today we just kind of wanted to introduce a vendor that I feel is an up-and-coming vendor in the EHR market. From what I have gathered so far, they've done a lot of great work at a lot of levels, everything from small organizations to the large enterprise organizations. So I just want to quickly introduce Patrick Randolph.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate you guys having me on here. I was listening to some of the past podcasts and already learned some good things that we're going to put towards the QueueDr.
Thanks. So I know you and I have had the pleasure of meeting in the past, and I have a good little bit of a background information on you, but tell our audience, how did QueueDr start? Tell us the history of it, and, what's some of the passions behind your company and, how it's evolved, I guess, through the past couple of years.
So for those of you Googling, it is QUEUEDR. Where we started, like all great Shakespearean stories, it's about my dad. My father's a physician, and I just wanted to help him out of it, to be honest. He's a solo practitioner in Connecticut, and the issue he had is a weird one that I thought at the time of supply and demand. He's booked out months for appointments. At the same time, he's losing 20% of his staff time and revenue to last-minute cancellations and no-shows. So, being the naive person that I was, I thought, oh, Dad, this is something that's so easy to solve. And I ended up creating an electronic wait list about 6.5 years ago. They would text patients, who were booked far out and offer them earlier appointments. And I went door to door, selling this in San Francisco. 450 Sutter, 490 Post. I canvassed the place and tried to sweet talk my way in with donuts. And we signed up the whole building. And I was very excited. And when people used the product, our initial product back then, it worked really well. But what we quickly found is something that I think, healthcare CIOs, COOs, everyone can relate to, is that at the end of the day, for a lot of products, we needed people to use our product. We needed staff to add patients to a wait list, to press the button to text them, move up an appointment, similar to what people have now. And what I found is about 10% of people who signed up for a product ended up using it, regardless of the results. And through, I'd love to say brilliance, but let's call it luck. We won a hackathon with one of our partners, Allscripts, and misunderstood something in the brief that they gave us. We ended up creating an electronic waitlist that was fully automated, that didn't have an engagement problem. And ever since then, our core mission has been that everything we have built is fully automated for the staff. And I'll be more specific there because it's a buzzword that gets thrown out a lot. What we mean is once you set up QueueDr, if the staff don't know about it, it works. So for us, what we're doing is we're getting patients in early. We're filling last minute appointments. We're even rescheduling those as well. We're doing it without an ounce of effort by the staff, nothing.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty important. I know with a lot of the clients that Coker has today, patient access is one of the big things that organizations, are trying to always continuously improve, right? Giving that availability to our providers, given especially for primary care. So I definitely think your product is definitely solving a lot of issues, I think, that a lot of organizations face today. So
yeah,
you mentioned Allscripts, just real quick, sorry, Patrick, but just, Allscripts. What other vendors besides Allscripts do you guys work with? I know there's quite a few. Definitely our audience be interested in that. Yeah.
So again, it has to be automated. So we had to do integration. We don't do any middleware. We don't use HL7. So we integrate directly with Athena, Epic, Cerner, Allscripts, Greenway, GE Centricity Business, and Dr. Chrono. Right. So, bi-directional, real-time, automated integration, all things you shouldn't have to say, but you need to. And like you said, with patient access, a lot of people, a lot of Coker customers are trying to figure that out. And really, I got to imagine a lot of times there's a calculus, which is I can improve patient access, but it's going to come from somewhere, which means maybe I have to have my staff do more work. I need to change my schedules, change my templates, whatever it might be. There's this trade-off I imagine that people are facing that inhibits them from being able to improve access. So we wanted to make sure there was no trade-off. You do nothing and this thing works. And that's a promise we made to our customers, and it's allowed us to grow, from Dr. John Ornstill's office in 450 Sutter, a great guy, wanted to give him a shout out, to now some of the largest groups like Stewart Medical Group, Providence, St. Joe's in the country.
That's great. But help us understand, what's that implementation process look like? I know just seeing some of it, it seems pretty simple. And one of the words that I was drawn to is when you guys use the word recipe. I think that's a curious word when it comes to healthcare IT, right? So if you don't mind, kind of elaborate a little bit on that, on your implementation process, and how it looks fairly seamless and easy. So I'm sure we'd love to hear that.
No, I'm happy to do it. Again, it comes back to my dad. He, and I'm sure a lot of Coker listeners can relate, complains a lot, if I'm allowed to say that, about healthcare tax. And so one of the big issues I've seen is the setup, right? It just takes too darn long. And so what we wanted to do is make this the easiest, and hopefully fastest while being at the same time most comprehensive setup. So let's take an Athena customer. I know we've worked with one in common. Thanks to the Athena API and thanks to all of our partners' APIs, the setups are really quick, right? We're able to connect through their API. Sometimes it's a matter of days, sometimes it's a matter of weeks, using either VPN tunnel or just a normal setup. And then what we're doing is we're pulling all the appointment types, the providers, things like that. So there is no double entry, right? There's nothing people hate more than having to type the same thing twice when they don't need to. Then what we're doing is we have best practice for rules. So we have an automated setup as well. And we'll look at your appointment types and categorize them, right? Like you said with recipes. We know that if an appointment type has certain words, say physical in it, well, you need to have a recipe that says make sure there isn't two physicals for a patient in 52 weeks or 366 days. So we apply these recipes for the customers so they don't have to, right? And we make it configurable enough to scale for those big groups. Right, Stuart's going to have a different issue than Dr. John Wenzel. They're going to have different requirements because there are 9 different states they're in. Yeah, and so we make the implementation really quick, and then we also make sure that we are mirroring your schedule. Right, and so if you're using Epic and your doctors only want to see 3 new patients appointment visit types in the afternoon, you don't want to have to tell us that. That's a lot of darn work. Well, by mirroring your schedule, we make sure that you don't have to tell us these things. Then we, of course, help with patient education and staff education. And they don't have to do anything, but they want to know about it. It's their terrain. And we want health systems, and they want to brag about this, right? Maybe their competitors, you're waiting, months for an appointment, but with QueueDr, we're getting you in with a text message tomorrow. And so that helps the patient education part as well. Patients are drawn to this type of thing.
No, that's pretty cool. Once organizations hear how quick and simple it is and how the training's, pretty simple, they like that, right? No one's looking for like a 16-week timeline to implement this, and you need to, go through the, create your own separate interface and such. And it's great that, and in particular, with Athena, obviously you're part of their more disruption partner program, right? So everyone associates that with, hey, this is a very streamlined timeline as opposed to a long-winded one where you have to devote a whole lot of resources, sometimes your own internal project manager. So I think that's awesome to hear. One of the funny things I think when we were doing a demo in particular was the words that come up in the text message to confirm. I think it'd be kind of funny to how do you guys establish those words, right? I think if anyone who's listening today is obviously interested, QueueDr, and they see that demo and then hopefully proceed forward. I was just curious, like, how do you come up with those words? I think Adam, one of your one of the great members on your team there, was trying to send us text message words, and I was like, I wonder how they came up with those.
Yes. Oh, it's a great question. So when we text patients an earlier appointment, they have to respond with a word. Word appears in quotes to claim the appointment. That's what Chris is referring to. And so we have a list of, about 300 to 400 words that I created in the beginning. And the idea had been, number one, honestly, we did it because we wanted people to make sure they read the text. We don't want them to be confused with reminders. Right? For patients, they got to know what they're signing up for. Number two, when possible, we wanted to make patients smile, right? Some of the words are fun, happy, scared. So we wanted to make the patient, if we could, just bring them a little joy in the day. Number three, they had to be professional, right? Or they had to be something that, when possible, was never autocorrected by a speller, right? We didn't want long words or certain words that were similar to other words. And so we had that list, I guess, of about 300, and we've taken a couple off over the years, but the list has kind of remained the same since the beginning. I think it's just one of the small parts. We like to nail the details. It's kind of fun for patients. And again, it results in a better patient and provider experience at the end of the day.
That's great. Help us understand it, Patrick, here. Obviously, organizations want to know that a product is working for them. Besides, obviously, the patient access that is making patients happier because they're able to see a doctor much sooner than their initial appointment time. They're looking for, in the financial sense, what is the return on investment here, right? Not seeing patients, you're not making any money, right? But if you're able to produce and bring in patients much sooner because you have a cancellation or because someone rescheduled, and help us understand that piece. We're not looking for direct numbers, of course, but what is that typical return on investment for a client when they implement your product?
Yeah. So I remember we were, now a customer, South County Health up in Rhode Island, and they did this entire ROI analysis. And kind of the process and the questions you're asking me now are what they did too, which is this thing going to be hard to set up? Is it going to solve a problem? And most importantly, how do I know that it's solving a problem? A lot of healthcare tech, just because of its design, you can't necessarily tie value to it. Thankfully with QueueDr, it lends itself to a direct monetary value, right? And so the first thing a customer sees when they sign into their QueueDr dashboard is return on investment. And that's measured as, the number of appointments that we're going to fill, that we have filled or rescheduled, we'll get to that in a second, divided by your cost, and you're taking into account your average appointment value. So if you have an average appointment value of $150 and we fill 100, appointments for you and you have 10, well, you can do the 10 providers, you can do the math there. So it's a relatively easy ROI. We're generating revenue with each additional appointment we fill. At the same time, though, what we do kind of ignore in our ROI calculus, and we're okay with this because our ROI already is around this 600-700% range, but we're ignoring the benefits the patient experience, the value of staff time saved. And so what we've evolved from is we're always trying to nail down the quantitative and qualitative, right? CFOs, CIOs, you need that quantitative number. Hey, for every dollar I'm putting in, what are you getting out? Again, it's about 6 to 1 for QueueDr. But also you want to know that, like you said, that patient access coordinator, your access center is benefiting. And we do attempt to measure those as well. And what we found is for every appointment we fill and/or reschedule, we're saving the staff 45 minutes of work. And so you can also put that into a number. So we try to make things as quantitative as possible. Yeah, it's important. But there is, of course, always the qualitative benefits.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that. So I know one of the big, buzzwords in healthcare IT, and you see it a lot now, a lot of agenda topics on HIMSS, a lot of other organizations is, the word artificial intelligence, right? You hear Google, you hear, all these platforms that are incorporating artificial intelligence. And I know obviously your product uses that to some degree, What is the future for QueueDr? Clearly there's a big need for, I think, a vendor like you guys, as you guys can integrate with a lot of the big major EMR players you mentioned on the Epic, Cerner, Athena in the ambulatory outpatient space. But what does the future hold for QueueDr? And I don't want to hold you to this, of course, but what is your vision? What is that roadmap looking like for your organization?
Yeah. Great question. So we started off billing cancellations, right? That's what we did. And then people, our customers said, well, what about the patient that cancels? And then they said, hey, what about preventing these things from ever happening? And we grew from billing canceled appointments to becoming an automated scheduling assistant for missed appointments. And everything that we build, of course, has been automated, has benefited staff, providers, executives, and patients. And honestly, the timing right now is great for us. There's more pressure than ever on health systems, right? You have demanding patients. You have the rise of patient consumerism. You have lower margins than ever before. And at the same time, you're expected to, continue to grow. And so what we want to build is use automation, use artificial intelligence, specifically on the schedule, because we view that as a manifestation of that pressure. That's the blueprint. Right? So we want to automate the scheduling work and optimize it to make sure that, again, you're always benefiting patients, call centers, executives, and providers, all at the same time without anyone having to lift a finger. So we've automated, 30%, 40% of scheduling tasks. Our goal is to get to 100%, right? So that, take the benefits of, like you said, artificial intelligence during that transition. From the manual to fully automated. We're in that transitional period right now, just like automated cars are going through, where you kind of have to have that handoff between the human and the machine. And then slowly it gets closer to the machine, and you get to have the inherent benefits of that, right? Things that only computers can do, what humans can't. So that's what we're moving towards.
That's great. Just real quick, Patrick, if someone wants to learn more about QueueDr, what's the best way for them to get a little bit more information, besides obviously going through the Coker Group and the consulting piece. But if someone wanted to reach out to you directly or your organization, maybe shameless plug here on the website or,
of course,
anything like that.
If you're an entrepreneur, you've got to be shameless. So again, the website, QueueDr, QueueDr.com. You can email us, hi@QueueDr.com. We have a lot of, if you're interested in kind of learning, we have a lot of definitive guides around no-shows, patient access, cancellations. We spent a lot of time studying these problems, and we have millions and millions of records of data. So we did a lot of analysis that I know a lot of health systems have downloaded our guides and used them for best practices. At the same time, again, you can email us or you sign up for a demo of the website. But also, we're going to be at a couple shows coming up. If you're an Athena customer, we're going to be at the Athena Success Summit. If you are modernizing medicine, we'll be announcing something there soon. But we will be at the Modernizing Medicine Momentum show. We'll be at the American Association for Physician Leadership in Scottsdale in November. So if you're a golfer, which I am not, but if you are, it's a good show.
But that's a good time to be in Arizona.
Right? It's too cold. And of course, we'll be at HIMSS. And so, I think one thing, Chris, you and I talked about was the people who are interested, how do they know this is something for them, right? It's not legally required or anything. And so what we've often found is on the problem side, if you're hearing complaints about gaps in the schedule, cancellations, no-shows, long patient wait time, poor patient experience, or staff that are overwhelmed with tasks, that's something QueueDr helps with. Or on the opportunity side, right? If you're trying to, stand out and have best-in-class, patient access, if you're trying to improve that call center productivity, if you're trying to, maximize revenue and physician utilization, even more so, that's also where we come in. So whether you look at a problem or a gap, QueueDr is definitely something worth checking out.
Great. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks for having me.